Hello, my name is Catherine, and I'm an adult services librarian with the South Huntington Public Library. Today I'm going to highlight for you a couple of historical fiction novels. The first one I'm going to talk about today is also the newest. It just came out this year, The Book of Longings by Sue Monk Kidd. Sue Monk Kidd, she does a great job with historical fiction, creating interesting characters and taking us back to other time periods. You may be familiar with some of her other popular books, The Invention of Wings, perhaps The Secret Life of Bees, which was also made into a movie. So that's Sue Monk Kidd. But in this book, she kind of has a bold premise, and that is that Jesus was married. Our main character is Anna, and she is a rebellious young woman from a wealthy family, and she goes on to become Jesus' wife. She is unusual in the idea that she can read and write, which obviously was not something that most women could do back then. And she yearns to tell other women's stories and to record them for other women to read. So we travel with her on her journey as she attempts to do that. And she really is the main character. Jesus is sort of a secondary character, which is kind of unusual because most books that Jesus is in, he's like a rock star. So, but this is Anna's story, and it's a very interesting journey. Although it is interesting to read about Jesus kind of as just sort of a regular guy who is also struggling to find his voice. He doesn't become who we know Jesus to be until the end of the book. So I did read an interview with Sue Monk Kidd where she calls the Jesus in this book the pre-Easter Jesus. So that's who we meet in this story. So Sue Monk Kidd, The Book of Longings. The next book that I want to feature is called The Pearl That Broke Its Shell by Nadia Hashimi. This is her debut novel. Actually came out a few years ago. And she's written some books since, but I wanted to highlight it for you today because this is the book that, it was a bestseller, but it introduced us to her writing. Nadia she was a pediatrician and she became an author. She's also an Afghan American, so she has some particular insight into this culture, which the book takes place in Afghanistan. She weaves together two stories for us. Rahima, she lives in post 9/11 Afghanistan. The Taliban has fallen. There's a struggle for power going on. And as she is a young girl, she lives as a boy for a time. There is a custom in Afghanistan, it's called Basha Posh, I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and that is when the girl dresses and lives as a boy. It apparently was common among families who did not have sons. Living this way allowed her to help her mother because she could, for example, go to the market without a chaperone, and she could have some freedom of movement where she could help her family. She was also able to go to school. So she lives this way for a time until she kind of gets a wake-up call when she, physically could no longer live as a boy because her gender became obvious, and her struggles with that. The other character in this book is in early 20th century Afghanistan. Her name is Shakiba, and she works as a guard in the king's palace. Now, apparently it was common for in the monarchy back then, they had harems, and they didn't trust men to guard the harem, so they hired women to guard the harem, but the women were dressed as men. So there's that common theme that kind of binds these two women together because their gender just sort of dictated their fate in this story. So if you enjoyed novels by Khaled Hosseini, like In the Mountains Echoed or The Kite Runner, you've enjoyed books by Lisa C. or Jhumpa Lahiri, you will enjoy this book. So, The Pearl That Broke Its Shell, Nadia Hashimi. And the last book I have for you today is Those Who Save Us by Jenna Blum. This actually came out in 2004, but I'm highlighting it for you today because you may have missed it. To me, it wasn't a huge bestseller, and to me it was sort of a word-of-mouth book. I had a friend who told me about it. I read it. I enjoyed it. I recommend it to a lot of people, so that's why I'm recommending it to you today. This book is about a mother and a daughter. The grown daughter, she has grown up, and her mother never speaks of her life in Nazi-occupied Germany during World War II. And the only clue she has as to what may have gone on is this little photograph of her as a toddler with her mother and a Nazi officer. So, of course, you can imagine what she may or may not think about what actually went on, but her mother won't discuss it. So, as she is an adult, she's a professor of German history, and so she decides to embark on a quest to find out what went on, and she learns the heartbreaking truth of what her mother did back then. This was interesting also because there's a lot of books written about this time period, but this one offers a different perspective, and that is that of ordinary ordinary German citizens who are not affiliated with the party. They were just regular people who had to endure the Nazi takeover of their communities and what they had to do to survive. So, Those Who Save Us, Jenna Blum. So these titles are all available in print and in our digital collection. I'm happy to report that if you really do crave holding an actual book in your hands again, we do now have pickup service. You can order online through the catalog. You can call us, or you can email us, and we will prepare your order and let you know when you can come and pick them up. So, thank you for watching. And if you have any historical fiction books that you want to recommend to me or to your neighbors, feel free to put them in the comments section in the Facebook page. Okay, again, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.